buckle down and let's get started. And I guess we'll start off with some headlines across the state. Some big stuff going on in the football realm.
A lot of stuff happened this week.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happened, especially this weekend. I mean, like, you were going through the different headlines and stuff, and I'm like, there's a lot of interesting and important stuff that happened, like, just literally this weekend.
No, and that's the crazy thing, too, is we only took off a show on Thursday and Friday because we were busy doing stuff with Cotton Bowl, and it feels like it's been 7 years.
I know. It just in the span of like 2 days.
So to start off with, let's go. You probably have seen it over Twitter now, but in case you haven't, UIL Realignment has set their date. That is set for February 3rd. I'm considering this my revenge tour day. If you flash back to almost 2 years ago. What is happening? That's insane.
Flew by.
Yeah, time has no meaning anymore. But if you flash back to almost 2 years ago, we tried to do a UIL realignment show live from the headquarters. Well, not the headquarters of it, but up in the DFW location over here. And it did not work. I was still fairly new to the computer. So Revenge Tour 2022 happening, going down February 3rd. I don't even know exactly where we're going to be doing it from yet, which is something that is on my to-do list to get done. But there are multiple, obviously, realignment spots throughout the entire state. We'll have people all over the state. I know Ish usually goes down to the THSCA headquarters and everything like that. But I promise you, Revenge Tour, February 3rd. We're going to get that show up going. We'll have full realignment coverage. I think Step's coming back from Canada, so it'll be a party wherever we're at, but that's always a very exciting day. And I do believe for anyone who I assume would ask, we are going to be doing the realignment video, how realignment works. That's one of the most difficult videos to edit. So I'm going to try and figure out an easier way to get that done. But we will have that up at some point. But yeah, realignment coming up. We'll be talking a whole lot more, leading up to it about it. And to answer a question that I think a lot of people have had, will there be 7A? That's not coming around this year or this realignment, next realignment possibly. But if you want to kind of check out the scope of what that would look like, TexasFootball.com, Step has been doing subscriber pieces about it. So super interesting to kind of take a look at, the what if that happened, what would it look like when that happens, what would it look like?
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, it's always fun, a good switcheroo.
I like it too because I feel like it kind of causes some drama too within some schools and stuff. Some moving up to 5A, some staying. It causes a little bit of drama, and it's very interesting to see.
Well, and it's funny too because you have a lot of those. I was actually talking to some of my family members about that. They were asking, what do you do in the off season? I was like, well, realignment's coming up. That's a really big thing, and they're like, they change, and it's because the school districts that they've been involved in really haven't changed much over the years because they're kind of in like those middle sections.
Right.
And I was like, no, guys, but then you get to those schools like Highland Park, it's like they're always right there. Liberty Hill is always right there on the cusp of, are they going to be here or are they going to move up? And they kind of fluctuate from year to year. So I was like, some of the teams, they pretty much stay the same most of the time. But those teams that are right there on the line.
Yeah. It's crazy. I remember back in high school, I went to Arlington, and Arlington Seguin actually dropped down to 5A either my sophomore or junior year, and I was just like, wait, where'd they go? We don't play them anymore?
Yeah.
What happened? What does all this entail? So that video that you, of course, are going to edit and make, it's going to be very helpful for those of you that are watching that don't quite maybe understand the implications or what realignment is all about. So be sure to check that out when it comes out.
Well, and every single realignment, typically the numbers fluctuate too as to what classifications. It's not substantial. You're not going to go from, 1,000 kids to 5,000 kids and make that different switch. But it's kind of one of those things. It does fluctuate. So it could have implications there. So realignment day set for February 3rd. We'll have all sorts of coverage about that all off season long. So exciting as always. Up next, Malpal, the Under Armour All-American Bowl game was, not bowl game, All-America game was played on January 2nd. That was down there in Florida, pitting some of, the nation's top recruits. And so there were a couple of big commitments to come out of that, and there were a couple of ones that we talked about last week when we were talking about some of our top DCTF Hot 100 recruits that hadn't made their commitment yet. We knew some of them were saving it for this day specifically because it's the big hoorah, it's on ESPN, you're able to sit there with the analysts, the families are all there. 2 different recruits of notes that signed, and we won't get too far into it because haven't talked to Powers about it, but very much assuming that this is going to be something that we go very in depth on in This Week in Recruiting on Wednesday. But it's worth noting DCTF 4-star outside linebacker Harold Perkins commits to Texas A&M, and this adds to that unbelievable #1 recruiting class that A&M is putting together right now.
It's absolutely insane. I was reading an article on this, and I've got some stats right here. So they have the number 2, number 6, number 10, number 12, number 19, number 32, and now the number 37 recruit. I mean,
that is wild.
That class is just absurd. I mean, the SEC is like just taking over because you got Alabama and Georgia have got some top recruits too, but like that's a scary class to talk about.
That A&M now has they have 6 5-star recruits in their class of 2022.
That's scary.
I mean, yeah, there was a lot of people saying, we're so tired of seeing SEC teams in these college football semifinal games, in the national championship games, and then I was scrolling through the roster of that All-America game, and it's Alabama, Georgia, A&M, Alabama, Georgia, A&M, and it's like, but A&M is the top-ranked class out of the composite scores of our friends at 247, and so it's like, man, Jimbo Fisher has got something rolling down there, but Harold Perkins ends up committing there, and then on the other side of that, let's go with a DCTF 5-star. That's Duncanville defensive end Omari Abor, and he is committing to Ohio State. And this is not necessarily a super big surprise. I did see that he will not obviously sign the official letter of intent until actual national signing day, which will come in February. It does sound like he's going to be taking a couple more visits just to go.
I think one of them's to Miami, and I think
one of them's
Texas
A&M.
So not completely decided yet. He goes to A&M. Good grief,
a verbal commit right there. But I mean, Ohio State's got to feel pretty stinking comfortable with that if he's going to go on national television and say, this is where I'm going, this is where I'm committed to. Something's brewing down there in the water in College Station, so it's not
out
final.
Of the question.
Yeah,
but
it's not final until pen meets paper. It seems like it's about 99% done, but if he's taken 2 more official visits, nothing's ever over till it's over. Interested to see there, but those are the 2 kind of really big commitments that came out of that weekend, which everyone, obviously, we all had our eyes on that to see where they were planning on going, but 2 schools that we tend to talk about quite often, so not necessarily huge surprises there. And this kind of transitions us into our next thing. We're going to keep on this Ohio State train a little bit. I know that sounds weird. I know we're Texas football today, but this all has a tie-in. Did y'all see what Jackson Smith-Njigba did? My Lord have mercy, son. So he goes in. This is, of course, the Rockwall product. He had the unbelievable game that everyone was comparing this Rose Bowl game to was the 2019 area round game of Allen and Rockwall. Jackson Smith-Njigba had 6 different touchdowns, 5 receiving, 1 on the ground. I was at that game. That still to this day has been my favorite Texas high school football game that I have attended in person. So he goes out in the Rose Bowl. It was on New Year's Day, Utah and Ohio State. Sophomore wide receiver stepping up because their main wide receivers are all hurt, injured, out for the game. So he was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to carry the load. How about setting some college football records? 347 yards on 15 receptions.
That's the insane part to me.
Crazy. And 3 touchdowns. Did you watch that game?
I did. And I was specifically also watching for him because I knew he was starting and stuff like that. And that game was just, I mean, we don't have to get too far into the weeds with that game, but that game was just nuts.
It was awesome.
And the thing for Ohio State is you needed a guy like Jackson Smith to step up in order to win a game like that against Utah. So fantastic game, fantastic performance by him.
Well, yeah, and that's what, I mean, Holly Rowe had said on the sideline. She was talking about how she met up with Jackson. They talked earlier this week, and it was like, is there pressure? What are you having to do? And so it was one of those things. It kind of took the world by storm. But I mean, that's an FBS bowl record.
Yeah.
That 347 yards. The 15 catches were a record in the Rose Bowl itself. Of course, that shadowed Ohio State records. I mean, he went out there and had himself a day. But the best part about it was, as soon as I saw him, I was just laying on the couch, enjoying a nice chill day, and I'm watching, and I'm going, he's doing that thing again. He's doing that thing again. And so then you start seeing the ESPN start tweeting about him, and it's like everyone in the nation is going, wow. But then you look at like our timelines and all of our Texas high school football people, and everyone's going, hey, welcome to the Jackson Smith and the Jigba party. Like, we've been known, you know?
And it's crazy seeing all these, like, top guys, like, tweeting about him and stuff like that, because I'm like, no, we've known about this kid. You know, like, not only was this like you said, a Rose Bowl record, this was an Ohio State single game record that he broke, and then, of course, the granddaddy of them all, all-time bowl game record. Yeah, that kid has never done that in a bowl game before in the history of college football. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, that was so much fun to watch. But that just kind of tied in there with Amari Abor signing up there with Ohio, verbally agreeing to sign up there with Ohio State. And it's like, man, they keep getting those really, really good Texas high school football products.
Something we've been knowing.
Yep. Yep. So that was insanely fun to watch. Congratulations to him. And he was always a great kid to talk to when he was in Texas high school football. Always a great interview. And to see him get the interview with Holly afterwards, I felt like that was like my first kind of like proud mom moment. Like Tepper and Step and everyone will kind of talk about that of, oh, I remember, Kyler in high school and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, now it's like, I was like, oh, that's our guy. Good job.
Yeah, for sure.
And then finally, just one other kind of weird high school football tying back in. Kyler Murray obviously went #sad we dem boys.
Yeah.
But
we don't want to talk about that.
It is really, really interesting stat to see this. Kyler Murray, with that win that Arizona had over the Cowboys yesterday, means that he is now 8-0 in AT&T Stadium. He had the games in high school. I think it was 5 games in high school.
Yep.
1 in college, 2 in college, and then 1 in the NFL now.
Maybe 1 in college. I don't remember.
1 in college, 2 in the NFL. I think that's what it is. Yeah, 5 in high school. 1 in college, and then 2 in the NFL. So the only two quarterbacks that have more than that in AT&T Stadium are Tony Romo and Dak Prescott.
Yeah, and there was
quarterbacks of the Cowboys.
Yeah, and I don't know how many of you guys watched the game, but Joe Buck, of course, was on commentary for that, and he said I had this quote that he said last night. He said, he's at least the co-owner of this stadium with Jerry Jones.
Exactly.
So I'm like, you're not wrong about that at all.
No, and Murray tweeted out something yesterday. It was like a graphic that someone had obviously pre-made, and it was him like above AT&T Stadium.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And it's just
cool.
like, I mean, that's wild. And then in the interview afterwards, he was like, it's home, and that's something that means something a lot to him. His family's always there watching when he's in that stadium to kind of come back and rep for your city. It obviously didn't end up the way that we were hoping for as Cowboy fans, but that is super impressive. I mean, to just never lose in that stadium, and that's a stadium that's intimidating.
Oh my gosh.
For anyone, and to never lose there, you've got to walk in feeling like the king when you can do that.
Right, and I'm sure it's super loud in there. My dad actually went to the game yesterday, and it was, packed full house because it was a big game. And so, yeah, that's got to be super intimidating for any away team. Even at like a home, the Cowboys too. Like,
right.
It can get really, really loud in there.
So a quick note there, just kind of, it's a bunch of stuff that oddly tied back in to Texas high school football. We should have just called this like the success of Texas high school football, like current success of Texas high school football. Yeah. But there they are, just some headlines across the state.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.